few parts, so I just want to start it. Okay, so indeed the vertex, indeed it's a maximum because the leading coefficient is negative. So now the vertex, the x-coordinate is negative b over 2a, which is negative 6 divided by negative 2. 2 times negative 2. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So this is 3. Now how much is f of 3?
18.
Let's try. Negative 3 squared plus 18 and minus 9. This is not negative 3 in parentheses squared. It's 3 squared with minus in front, which is negative 9 plus 18 minus 9, which is 0. Careful. This is one thing, and this is totally different. So this is indeed 9, but this is negative 9. And we are not squaring this. We're squaring x. Good. Part C. What about the x-intercepts?
Oh, very fond of
Exactly. What is the x-intercept?
research.
Of course. It's a maximum, and the maximum is 0. If the maximum is 0, it means that that point is on the x-axis. Excellent. Very good. Now D. Y-intercept. How do I get that?
You just plug x in 0.
Right. So I have to find f of 0. Can anyone tell us how much is f of 0?
Negative.
Perfect. E and F are just words, but they are important words. Axis of symmetry is the vertical line that passes through,
The x is
yes, x equals.
3.
Very good. The axis of symmetry is the vertical line that passes through the vertex, and it has to be x equals 3. Since this has a maximum, what is the maximum value?
3.
Careful. Maximum value is?
Oh, S.
Can you picture the graph now? It has it opens downward, it has a maximum, and it turns at this point and goes back down. What is the maximum?
0.
Exactly. Indeed. Now, without even graphing it, can you give me the range of this function? We haven't even gotten the chance to graph it, but we can picture this in our head.
Negative 30 positive
To,
infinity.
it looks like this, and it touches the x-axis.
The range is here.
No, that's the domain.
0. So
0. The domain is always negative infinity to infinity because it's a polynomial function. Correct. That's good. So I have to graph the vertex first. 1, 2, 3, 0. I graph the axis of symmetry. And then I plot 0, comma, negative 9. And then I graph the function, trying to make it as symmetric as possible. It's not symmetric, but at least I tried. So, so this is the function we just graphed. Okay. Let's look at a word problem. 54 on page 709. And then we can go back to chapter 10. The function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 120t plus 300 gives the height in feet of a projectile fired from the top of a building. Part A, when will the object reach a height of 350 feet? When will the object reach a height of 350 feet? What do I have to write? So h of t equals 350, negative 16t squared plus 120t plus 300 equals 350. Let's solve this equation. Move terms around, whatever you need, simplify as much as you can, and directly go to the quadratic formula. Can anyone dictate anything? Yes? I wouldn't do that. I will definitely divide both sides by negative 2. So I have 8t squared minus 60t and plus 25. And now I will use the quadratic formula. I'm sorry? Right, but why will I use a negative number in the denominator? What if I forget about the sign? I mess up the whole thing. I refuse to solve a quadratic equation with a negative leading coefficient. For convenience, not because we can do it.
So it's 60 plus or minus 60 squared.
32 times 25 over 16. And even the numbers are smaller. Okay. So here it is. In parentheses, 60 plus the square root of, in parentheses, 36 squared, 3600 squared, minus 32, multiply by 25, close the parenthesis, go outside, close the parenthesis, and divide by 16. Okay, now the other one. Okay, so 7.06, t equals 7.06 seconds, and t equals 0.44. Okay, so what does this mean? How is this possible? Well, it is possible because this is a scenario, 300 and 350 is here. So the projectile does this. So it crosses the line of the height of 350 feet twice. Once on its way up to the maximum, and the second time on its way down to the ground. So 0.44 seconds is from here till here, and 7.06 is from here till here. Any questions on this? Part B. Explain why part A has two answers. Good. I think we have just inequalities to look at from here, and we can move on to chapter 10. So 34, x squared minus 16, x squared minus 1 greater than 0. 708. We're still there, yes. And then let's look at 38. X to the third plus 3x squared minus 25x minus 75, also greater than 0. And the last one, 35. X minus 5 over x minus 6 less than 0. Okay, so we start with 34. Do we know what we have to do? The chart. We have to study the sign of each factor. We have to factor x squared minus 16. We have to factor x squared minus 1. And then use the chart for each row. We study the sign. And then we study the sign for each subinterval. Very important to know how to study the sign of an expression. The same thing with the 38, the same thing with 35. Do we need more time? Do we need more time? Okay. Okay. Can we start? Okay. So obviously I will factor x squared minus 16 into
X minus 4 plus 1.
and x squared minus 1 into x plus 1, x minus 1. X minus 4, x plus 4, x plus 1 is minus 1. And I'll say here I don't have enough room, product. So which numbers I need in the chart?
You need negative 4, negative 1, and then 4, I mean 1 and 4.
Excellent. The 0 for x minus 4.
X plus 4.
There's 0 for x plus 4. For x plus 1. What happens in this situations with the product?
They're all zeros.
Right, because it's a product. Good. Since all of them have the same look, they all look like this, and it means they come from negative and they go to positive. Now on the first subinterval I count 4 negatives.
So that's a positive.
Excellent. On the next subinterval I count 3 negatives. On the next one I count 2 negatives.
That's positive.
On the next one I count 1 negative. And on the last one I don't count any negatives. There are no negatives. So now I'm asking myself which sign I want. Which means, but it's greater than 0.
Oh my god.
So I want this
How's that?
greater than 0. So this, and this. Very good. So the solution will be,
Negative
for this one, indeed, negative infinity to negative 4. Yes,
negative 1 to positive
very good. And union,
4 to 50.
very good. So let's work on this one now. What will you do first with this one? Remember the chart works only if on one side we have 0 and on the other side what? A product or a,
Ratio.
excellent.
So you have to do that.
So I have to factor it. It's not a product. X cubed plus 3x squared minus 25x minus 75 is not a product. This was a product,
How's that 35?
but this one is not. What will you do with 4 terms? Always. By?
Grouping.
Excellent. Factor by grouping. So please factor. By grouping. I'm going to copy the problem on the next page. And tell me what you find. From the first two.
X squared.
Very good. In parentheses.
X plus 3.
Very good. From the other two.
25, negative 25.
So x plus 3. Indeed, negative 25. So then we pull out x plus 3. And what is left in parentheses?
X squared minus 25, which is x plus 5 is minus 5. And then you make the chart. And I already have things. be -5, -3, and 5.
Do you all agree with -5, -3, and 5? -5 from here, -3 from here, and 5 from here? We agree? Good. So there is a 0 here, and there is a 0 here, and there is a 0 here, and there is a 0 here, here, and here.
Negative and positive for
All of them, because they all have this. If I had changed this into negative, then I would have had plus and minus. Three negatives on the first subinterval.
So it's negative, then it's positive, negative, and positive. Which means the final answer is -5, (3),
-3.
union, or yeah, it's -3, and then union 5 to infinity.
Do you all agree with -5, -3, union 5, infinity? Okay, one more, last one here. And we can go back to chapter 10 now. X minus 5 over x minus 6 less than 0. I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yes. We don't have class next Tuesday because final exam week. Yes. Yes, on Thursday, I'm trying to review chapters 8, 9, and 4. So
for the test, is it actually going to take that full amount of time each day? 'Cause you have it on
4
there.
hours?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You come in anytime you want.
Okay.
If you want to come in at 4, you can stay till 7. If you
I
come in
just
at,
wanted to
at
see.
6, you'll stay just 1 hour. I don't recommend that. But you can, if you come on Tuesday, which I recommend,
Yeah,
because
I can
Wednesday
come
may be very
Tuesday.
crowded. So you can come at 3 o'clock and you can stay till 7 till you finish. You should not need more than an
Yeah.
hour and a half.
Okay.
But nobody will chase you out of here.
And is it going to be like our normal test where it's like 10 problems, each of them have like parts to it?
This test is a little bit longer.
Okay.
This test is a little bit longer. But you'll have a little bit from everything, nothing difficult. But you have to review all your tests. If you review between now and Tuesday, all your tests 3 times, next semester you'll come in and teach this.
Yeah,
And
I
I
got
was-
time for that.
And I will sit and take the nap that you just took.
That's nice.
Good. Okay, so this is already chart ready. Don't have to do anything. X minus 5, X minus 6. Allow me to change one of these. I'm going to change it to this. You don't have to change anything. I just want to make a point that there are other options. I mean, the second option, right? You don't have to change anything. Don't change your. Of course, we will get different solutions. But don't change your solution. So in this case, we have -6 and +5. You had 5 and 6. But because I made this change, now -6 and +5 are the values of x that make the numerator and denominator 0. So there is a 0 here, and there is a 0 here. However, this is undefined. In your case, it was at 6, right? Because the
You can't
denominator
divide
is
by 0.
exactly, but this one is 0 and the numerator is 0. So since I made that change, now everything will change here because this is indeed negative to positive, but this one has a negative leading coefficient, which the line will look like this. So it's coming from positive and going to negative. So positive and negative. So then this is negative, positive, and negative. And since I want to choose negative, then I have to choose this and this. Of course, the solution changed. You have something else. So now in this case, I have negative infinity to negative 6, union 5 to infinity. Only because I changed the problem by putting a negative there.
So for ours, it would be
So in your situation, less than 0 will be between 5 and 6.
oh, I did negative 6.
That's okay. Okay, I think we are okay with chapter 11. Okay, so let's go back to chapter 10 now. Chapter 10 has a lot of work. If you remember, it took us a while because we had to go through all the rules that radicals have. So on page 645, page 646, 647, I recommend do those problems to review chapter 10. Okay, let's start with a rationalizing situation. Let's say problem 110 on page 646. The square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 over the square root of 2 plus the square root of 3. We're asked to rationalize the denominator.